Once upon a time, in a dense and ancient forest, hidden far away from human eyes, lurked a terrifying creature known as Abasov. This monstrous being, unlike any other, was a colossal stone creature with jagged iron teeth that gleamed menacingly in the moonlight. Abasov was birthed from a mysterious black stone, resembling a newborn child at first. As the years passed, the stone child grew incredibly quickly. Every passing moon brought greater size and strength to Abasov, but the nature of his transformation began to take a sinister turn. At first, the stone child consumed the same food as regular people, effortlessly devouring fruits, vegetables, and meats. But as his body matured, so did his appetite, transforming from ordinary nourishment to a dark and insatiable hunger for the flesh of humanity. As time went on, stories of missing people began to spread throughout nearby villages, leaving the residents gripped with fear. Whispers of an unknown creature roaming the forest, preying on weary travelers, reached the ears of those brave enough to listen. Residents soon realized that the monstrous Abasov was the cause of these disappearances, his insidious transformation complete. The forest thicket became his kingdom, serving as his cold and desolate domain, where he would patiently wait for unsuspecting victims. Abasov's presence in the shadows struck terror into the hearts of all who heard his name, leaving their imaginations to run wild with horrifying tales. Some believed that he ventured deep underground during the day, only to rise when the sun dipped below the horizon. Others thought he transformed into an unassuming boulder to blend in with his surroundings. As the story of Abasov the stone monster grew, so did the whispers of those who were brave enough to venture near his domain. They spoke of the chilling silence that enveloped the forest, broken only by the faint echoes of his menacing laughter that sent shivers down their spines. The few who managed to escape his clutches described the terror in his eyes as he devoured their companions, a hunger that could not be sated, and a madness that seemed to consume him from within. As Abasov's legend grew, so did his twisted hunger for human flesh. He had honed his skills, becoming a master of blending with the environment, seamlessly merging with the foliage and becoming one with the shadows. His stone-like skin granted him camouflage beyond compare, making it nearly impossible for anyone to spot him lying in wait among the dense undergrowth of his forest domain. Whispers of his monstrous presence continued to spread, instilling paralyzing fear in the hearts of all who heard them. Tales told of unsuspecting victims venturing deep into the forest, oblivious to the imminent danger that awaited them. They would stumble upon the enchanted forest, captivated by its ethereal beauty, unaware that their footsteps were leading them into a trap set by Abasov himself. The forest, once a sanctuary of tranquility and life, became a hunting ground as Abasov lurked in the shadows, biding his time. His eyes became sharper, his senses more acute, as he honed his skills in tracking and seeking out those who ventured into his realm. The dense foliage seemed to offer him an advantage, serving as a curtain shielding him from prying eyes, while his monstrous form ensured that even a glimpse of him would inspire terror beyond imagination. Gone were the days when Abasov allowed his prey to escape. He grew more cunning with each passing victim, learning their patterns, studying their fears, and anticipating their movements. The fear-stricken cries that once pierced the stillness of the forest thicket became music to his ears, fueling his insatiable appetite for human flesh. And so, the mysterious disappearances continued, the forest becoming a haunted place in the minds of those who knew its dark secret. Desperate search parties ventured into the shadows, armed with hope and determination, unaware of the horrors that awaited them. But as soon as they set foot in Abasov's hunting ground, they were swallowed by the vastness of the forest, never to return. The cycle of fear and tragedy continued, leaving a trail of sorrow and grief in its wake. Families clung to fading hope, their lives forever marked by the absence of their loved ones. The tales of Abasov's monstrous reign spread far and wide, dissuading anyone from venturing into his forest lair. But even as the legend grew, unbeknownst to the people, whispers began to circulate of a group of brave individuals, determined to unearth the truth behind Abasov and put an end to his reign of terror. A band of hunters and scholars, armed with ancient knowledge and guided by unwavering resolve, set out on a perilous quest to confront the colossal stone monster and free the forest from his malevolent grasp. And so, their journey began, leading them towards the heart of the forest, towards the creature that had become known as Abasov. As the brave band delved deeper into the thicket, they could feel the weight of his presence growing, the eerie silence enveloping them like a suffocating shroud. Their eyes scanned the surroundings, vigilant and alert, as they prepared to face the ultimate nightmare lurking within the depths of the forest. As the brave band ventured deeper into the heart of the forest, their hearts pulsated with a mixture of anticipation and dread. Though they had heard countless tales of Abasov's monstrous nature, the sheer magnitude of his existence overwhelmed their senses as they finally came face to face with the stone creature. Looming before them was Abasov, his massive form blending seamlessly with the surrounding woods. His eyes burned with a cold intensity as he observed the intruders, a cruel smile curling upon his stone-like lips. The men, armed with weapons crafted by mortal hands, felt a glimmer of hope flicker within them, unaware of the futility of their arsenal against the mighty Abasov. With a charging battle cry, the brave band launched their attack, thrusting blades and shooting arrows with determined precision. Yet, to their dismay, Abasov's stony exterior proved impenetrable, each strike bouncing harmlessly off his adamantine hide. The weapons that had proven effective against ordinary foes were rendered useless against this formidable monster forged from the very earth itself. Abasov, amused by their futile attempts, unleashed a guttural laughter that reverberated through the forest. He lunged forward, his gargantuan arms sweeping across the warriors, sending them sprawling through the air like ragdolls. One by one, they were ensnared by the unyielding grasp of his iron teeth, their cries for help stifled beneath his monstrous visage. With a perverse satisfaction, Abasov dragged his victims deeper into the enchanted forest, to a place far removed from human eyes. Vines twisted around their bodies, trapping them as they thrashed and fought against their impending doom. The forest seemed to come alive, a macabre symphony of whispered secrets and haunting melodies, as if reveling in their impending demise. Each man met his own unique fate within the clutches of Abasov. Some succumbed to his relentless hunger, devoured alive by his ravenous jaws. Others endured a twisted transformation, their very beings merging with the stones and trees of the forest, becoming eternal prisoners in this wicked realm. Their final cries echoed through the trees, a chilling chorus that spoke of untimely ends and shattered hope. As the brave band vanished one by one into the depths of the forest, Abasov reveled in his triumph, his monstrous appetite only momentarily satiated. And so, the tale of Abasov's reign of terror grew, a haunting reminder to all who heard it of the unfathomable depths of darkness that resided within the heart of the enchanted forest. But the story of Abasov's malevolence did not end there. The whispers continued, reaching the ears of a new group of warriors, driven by vengeance and an unyielding desire to bring an end to this creature's reign. Their determination burned like a flickering flame, their spirits undeterred by the tragic fate that befell those before them. With sword and magic, these warriors set forth, determined to unveil the secrets hidden within the forest and bring an end to the monstrous terror that was Abasov. Yet, whether they would succeed in their perilous quest or meet the same gruesome fate as those who came before them remained uncertain, shrouded in the ethereal mystique of the forest and the malevolent soul of Abasov. In the heart of a dense, ancient forest, where sunlight struggled to penetrate the thick canopy, lurked a fearsome creature known as Abnawi. This enormous behemoth possessed a physique that oozed both awe and terror, with muscles rippling beneath its shaggy, bristle-like hair. Its eyes, filled with unbridled rage, burned with an intensity that sent a shiver down the spines of those unfortunate enough to cross its path. Legend spoke of Abnawi's extraordinary physical strength, capable of toppling the mightiest of trees with a single swipe of its massive claws. Its snarling maw was filled with razor-sharp teeth, capable of tearing through flesh and bone like paper. To some, it was a godlike being, a nightmare incarnate, capable of untold destruction. Amongst the villagers, who called the surrounding forests their home, tales whispered of the unfortunate souls who had encountered Abnoi's wrath. those whose curiosity led them astray or those whose paths diverged into the creature's territory were destined to face a fate worse than death. There was a twisted ritual to Abnau's rampage. An adult Abnau possessed a wicked, corkscrew-shaped steel protrusion embedded deep within its chest. Painstakingly forged by some forgotten hand, this grotesque weapon held a dark purpose. It was whispered that pressing the victim's trembling body against this jagged instrument, Abnau could slice them effortlessly in half, severing their life force mercilessly. There was another chilling aspect to Abnau's cunning. It seemed to possess an unnerving sense, an ability to know in advance the name of those who sought its fearsome lair. Hunters, shepherds, or even the curious souls who foolishly believed they could best the creature, all were destined to find themselves on Abnau's macabre radar. The tales varied as they passed through generations. Some believed that it was not chance or happenstance that led Abnau to its chosen victims. The creature's commanding presence hinted at a darker intelligence, a twisted form of sentience that allowed it to toy with its prey. Whether through a sinister pact or some unknown supernatural power, its victims found themselves ensnared in a seemingly inescapable web. Yet, as the legends grew, so did the heroes who dared challenge the fearsome Abnau. Warriors with hearts pulsating with a desperate determination ventured into the heart of the forest, their weapons gleaming with defiant hope. For each hunter who sought to decimate the creature, their fate lay delicately balanced between glory and oblivion. Despite the valiant attempts to vanquish Abnau, the unfortunate truth remained that none had survived their encounter with the mighty creature. From courageous warriors to skilled hunters, each had met a gruesome end, their lives snuffed out by the sheer power and fury of Abnau. Folklore spoke of the countless heroes who had dared confront the creature. Armed with the finest weaponry and accompanied by their loyal companions, they marched into the heart of the forest, their hearts pounding in anticipation. With unwavering determination, they sought to rid their land of the terrifying presence that cast a shadow over their lives. The villagers mourned their fallen heroes, the memory of their bravery etched in their hearts. Yet whispers began to circulate, whispers of a tale that seemed too fantastical to believe. Legends hinted at an ancient prophecy hidden deep within the annals of forgotten lore. The prophecy spoke of a chosen one, destined to possess the strength and knowledge to face Abnau and emerge victorious. Rumors spread capturing the imaginations of those burdened by the continual reign of terror. Hope ignited within the hearts of the villagers, eclipsing their despair as they clung to the possibility of salvation. The elders, guided by ancient texts, sought to unravel the prophecy's cryptic message, piecing together fragments of wisdom from the lore of their ancestors. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months, as the village prepared for the arrival of the one foretold by the prophecy. Rumors reached the ears of a young and unassuming shepherd named Amara. Though her frame was petite and her life had revolved around her flock, something within her stirred. A spark of bravery, perhaps, or an unexplained connection to the ancient forest that surrounded them. As whispers of her name seeped into the surrounding villages, Amara discovered an inner resolve she never knew existed. Drawn to the compulsion of destiny, she embarked on a perilous journey towards the heart of the forest. Her steps were guided by a relentless determination, every beat of her heart a testament to her unwavering will. With the villagers' hopes placed upon her slender shoulders, Amara ventured deep into the darkened realm of Abnau. Guided by a conviction she couldn't fully comprehend, she pressed forward, undeterred by the eerie silence that enveloped her. Each step felt heavier, every breath more laborious as the atmosphere seemed to thicken. Suddenly, a haunting presence began to pervade the air, gusts that whispered tales of dread and sorrow. The ground trembled beneath Amara's feet as Abnau emerged from the shadows, the embodiment of immense power and untamed fury. With eyes narrowed, the creature locked its gaze upon her, sensing the approach of its would-be usurper. The battle that ensued was one of unparalleled ferocity, a clash between an unstoppable force and an immovable object. Amara's determination burned like a flame, matched only by the unyielding wrath of Abnau. Each blow exchanged between the two combatants echoed through the forest, leaving a trail of devastation in their wake. Time seemed to hang suspended as the battle waged on, the clash of steel against claws, and the roar of anger mingling with the cries of pain. With every passing moment, it became increasingly evident that Amara's strength lay not just in her physical prowess, but also in the unshakable resilience of her spirit. As fate would have it, the daunting battle between Amara and Abnauer reached its climax amidst the unforgiving darkness of the forest. Though Amara had fought valiantly, her determination and spirit were ultimately no match for the overpowering rage and strength of the colossal creature. With a thunderous roar that echoed through the trees, Abnauer struck Amara with a devastating blow, sending her crashing to the ground. In that final moment, the hopes and dreams of the village were shattered, as Abnauer's fury claimed yet another victim. The air hung heavy with grief, the villagers mourning the loss of their chosen one. Feeding on the adrenaline of its triumph, Abnauer unleashed a deafening roar that reverberated across the forest. Its bloodlust barely sated, the creature's red eyes scanned the horizon, searching for its next target. Slowly, deliberately, it turned its attention towards the nearest village, a place known as Falderin. Within Falderin, despair reigned as whispers of Amara's demise reached the villagers' ears. Panic cascaded through their veins like a poison, forcing them to confront the grim reality that had plagued neighboring villages for generations. The devastation wrought by Abnauer was imminent, and they were next in line for its wrath. Unwilling to surrender their lives blindly, the inhabitants of Falderin came together in a desperate attempt to concoct a plan that could potentially repel the monster. Though their hearts were heavy with sorrow and trepidation, a glimmer of determination flickered within their eyes. They would stand united, facing the fury of Abnauer with every ounce of strength they could muster. As night fell, cloaking the village in an ominous darkness, the villagers huddled together beneath a moonlit sky. Armed with whatever weapons they could scrounge, they fortified their homes and prepared for a battle against the unimaginable. The air crackled with nervous anticipation, the villagers well aware of the unforgiving power that loomed just beyond their fragile defenses. In the dead of night, just as the village lay shrouded in a somber stillness, Abnauer erupted from the shadows with a roar that shook the earth. The villagers steeled themselves, their blood pumping with a mixture of fear and adrenaline. They met the creature head-on, launching a barrage of arrows, spears, and whatever else they could muster, hoping to weaken its relentless assault. However, even their most valiant efforts seemed futile against the ruthless strength of Abnauer. Swiping at them indiscriminately with deadly precision, the creature tore through their defenses like paper, as if their attempts were nothing more than a mere nuisance. The battle that unfurled was a desperate struggle for survival, with each passing moment serving as a grim reminder of the overwhelming odds stacked against the villagers. And so, the malicious rampage of Abnauer continued, veering ever forward like a merciless storm. Its rage seemed insatiable, its hunger for destruction relentless. The fate of the village hung precariously in the balance, and the question of whether they would persevere or succumb to their doom remained unanswered. As the sun began to cast a faint glimmer of hope over the horizon, the battle between the villagers and Abnauer reached a climactic crescendo. The clash of wills and the echoes of anguish reverberated through the forest, each blow exchanged, a testament to the unyielding spirit of humanity. As dawn broke on the horizon, the village of Falderin bore witness to their worst fears. Despite their valiant efforts, the villagers had underestimated Abnauer's insurmountable power, and their hopes dwindled amidst the chaos that ensued. Abnauer's colossal form tore relentlessly through the village, crushing homes and lives with a single swipe of its immense claws. The once thriving community was reduced to smoldering ruins, consumed by the unquenchable fury of the creature. Panic and despair permeated the air, mingling with the acrid scent of smoke, as the villagers' valiant resistance crumbled beneath the weight of Abnauer's relentless onslaught. The wails of the fallen mingled with the inhuman roars of the beast, forming a haunting symphony of anguish. Families were torn apart, dreams were shattered, and the once vibrant tapestry of life was reduced to naught but dust and ash. In the wake of this devastating obliteration, the spirit of Falderin dissolved into the annals of history, its memory destined to be swallowed by the relentless march of time. The dense forest that had sheltered Abnaue for generations now stood as a silent witness to the village's demise, bearing witness to the ashen remnants that littered the ground. The creature itself, imposing and invincible, surveyed its path of destruction with satisfaction. Its grip on the land had tightened, its dominion unchallenged. From that day forth, whispers of Falderin became mere echoes in the shadows, haunting reminders of what once was. The fates of the villagers, forever sealed within the annals of tragedy, served as a cautionary tale to those who dared cross paths with Abnaue. A shroud of fear descended upon neighboring villages as they heard of the village's ill-fated demise, their hopes and dreams forever tainted by the looming presence of the terrifying creature. The legend of Abnaue grew, fueling tale that echoed through the land. Hunters abandoned their pursuits, shepherds sought safer pastures, and the dense forest became a place shunned in fear. The once vibrant ecosystem teemed with an eerie silence, as the creature's dominance cast a suffocating pall over every living being. Still, whispers persisted among those who dared to speak, silently defying the oppressive grip of fear. Stories of resistance emerged, tales from brave souls who dared stand against the unstoppable force that claimed Falderin. Though they had faced certain doom, their legacy spoke of the indomitable spirit that lay hidden within humanity, a spirit that refused to be completely extinguished. Yet, as the legend unfolds, it becomes evident that Abnaue's reign of terror is far from over. Its wrath, fueled by pain and rage, now emboldened by the devastation it had wrought, seeks new territory to lay waste. The dark forest, once a sanctuary for beauty and life, has transformed into an abode of sorrow and despair. And so, the story continues, the next chapter of Abnaue's malevolence yet to be revealed. Will there be a glimmer of hope that emerges from the shadows, or shall the darkness consume all in its path? Only time will disclose the fate of those who unknowingly stumble upon the path of the dreaded creature, and reveal whether humanity can muster the strength to face an adversary that seems invincible. As darkness enveloped the castle, an eerie silence settled upon its halls, broken only by the soft whispers of the lurking Bovenshai. Guinevere, the traitorous maid, had succeeded in opening the gate, allowing the malevolent fairies to infiltrate the once peaceful realm. Chaos and lawlessness reigned supreme within the castle walls, as the unsuspecting inhabitants fell under the spellbinding charms of the Bovenshai. One by one, the husbands of the kingdom were replaced, their very essence consumed by the insidious fairies who assumed their forms. The wives, struck with grief and confusion, could only watch helplessly as their loved ones turned against them, charmed by the wicked creatures who celebrated their conquest. Meanwhile, within her prison cell, Leah's heart sank as she witnessed the depth of her kingdom's despair. Through the cracks in her confinement, she silently observed the unfolding horror, regret gnawing at her soul. She longed to intervene, to protect those she had failed to convince, but the weight of her past mistakes held her captive, rendering her immobile against the tides of malevolence. The once proud King Alaric, now stricken with remorse, stood amidst the chaos, his heart heavy with the realization that he had failed his people. His hasty judgment had allowed evil to seep into the very heart of his kingdom, causing irreversible damage. As the truth of Guinevere's betrayal slowly unfolded before him, his regrets mingled with the desperation to save what little remained of the realm he loved. With every passing moment, the Bovenshai tightened their grip, their insidious plan inching closer towards fruition. Guinevere, their puppet, glided through the dimly lit corridors in search of Leah, now viewed as nothing more than an obstacle to be eliminated. Silently, with a countenance of unwavering resolve, Leah awaited her impending doom, accepting her fate with a somber calmness. However, in the darkest hours, hope can emerge from the unlikeliest of places. A silence fell upon the castle, broken only by a faint, determined whisper. A secret resistance, born from the remnants of loyalty and love, had begun to form. Allies rallied, united by a shared desire to restore peace to their ravaged home. In the depths of their solitude, they devised a plan, their resolve ignited by the courage of those who refused to succumb to the darkness. Will Leah find an unexpected ally in her final moments, a chance for redemption amidst the chaos? Or will the kingdom be forever consumed by the malevolence that now roams its halls? The climax of the tale looms on the horizon, its resolution hanging delicately between salvation and utter annihilation. As Leah stood before the king, her voice trembling with conviction, she recounted all she had witnessed in the depths of the forest. She pleaded with the king to heed her warning, to recognize the darkness that had infiltrated the castle walls, endangering all who resided within. King Alaric listened intently, his eyes flickering with a mix of doubt and concern. He summoned Guinevere before him, demanding that she provide an explanation for the unsettling accusations levied against her. The maid stood confidently, her gaze unwavering as she denied any involvement in the sinister machinations described by Leah. With resolute conviction, Guinevere offered a plausible alibi, claiming that she had been tending to her duties within the castle during the night in question. Her status as a trusted servant weighed heavily in the king's decision-making process, for he had never known Guinevere to be deceitful or malicious. Fueled by doubt, King Alaric made a hasty judgment, choosing to believe the maid's word rather than the unsettling truths presented by Leah. He declared Leah a manipulative cheat, branding her a threat to the stability of the kingdom. The guards, acting on the king's orders, escorted Leah to a desolate prison cell, locking her away from the world she desperately sought to protect. In the darkness of the prison, Leah's spirit wavered. Her mind raced, struggling to find a way to reaffirm her claims and expose the evil that threatened the kingdom. She clung to the sliver of hope that someone, somewhere, would realize the true nature of her plight. Little did Leah know, there were those within the kingdom who sensed the stirring of darkness and questioned the king's judgment. Some whispered their doubts in hushed tones, fearing retribution, while others dared to begin their own investigations, determined to uncover the truth. As Leah languished in her desolate prison, her dreams filled with whispers of revenge and redemption. She vowed to gather the proof necessary to unveil the sinister scheme orchestrated by Guinevere and the Bovenshai. The path to her escape, however, would be treacherous, built on alliances both unexpected and fragile. Will Leah find the evidence needed to clear her name and expose the malevolent alliance that threatens the kingdom? Or will she share the fate of forgotten prisoners, forever lost in the dark confines of her cell? The answers lie buried within the depths of her determination, waiting to be unearthed and ignited into a blaze of redemption. As darkness enveloped the castle, an eerie silence settled upon its halls, broken only by the soft whispers of the lurking Bovenshai. Guinevere, the traitorous maid, had succeeded in opening the gate, allowing the malevolent fairies to infiltrate the once peaceful realm. Chaos and lawlessness reigned supreme within the castle walls, as the unsuspecting inhabitants fell under the spellbinding charms of the Bovenshai. One by one, the husbands of the kingdom were replaced, their very essence consumed by the insidious fairies who assumed their forms. The wives, struck with grief and confusion, could only watch helplessly as their loved ones turned against them, charmed by the wicked creatures who celebrated their conquest. Meanwhile, within her prison cell, Leah's heart sank as she witnessed the depth of her kingdom's despair. Through the cracks in her confinement, she silently observed the unfolding horror, regret gnawing at her soul. She longed to intervene, to protect those she had failed to convince, but the weight of her past mistakes held her captive, rendering her immobile against the tides of malevolence. The once proud King Alaric, now stricken with remorse, stood amidst the chaos, his heart heavy with the realization that he had failed his people. His hasty judgment had allowed evil to seep into the very heart of his kingdom, causing irreversible damage. As the truth of Guinevere's betrayal slowly unfolded before him, his regrets mingled with the desperation to save what little remained of the realm he loved. With every passing moment, the Bovenshai tightened their grip, their insidious plan inching closer towards fruition. Guinevere, their puppet, glided through the dimly lit corridors in search of Leah, now viewed as nothing more than an obstacle to be eliminated. Silently, with a countenance of unwavering resolve, Leah awaited her impending doom, accepting her fate with a somber calmness. However, in the darkest hours, hope can emerge from the unlikeliest of places. A silence fell upon the castle, broken only by a faint, determined whisper. A secret resistance, born from the remnants of loyalty and love, had begun to form. Allies rallied, united by a shared desire to restore peace to their ravaged home. In the depths of their solitude, they devised a plan, their resolve ignited by the courage of those who refused to succumb to the darkness. Will Leah find an unexpected ally in her final moments, a chance for redemption amidst the chaos? Or will the kingdom be forever consumed by the malevolence that now roams its halls? The climax of the tale looms on the horizon, its resolution hanging delicately between salvation and utter annihilation. Once in a small town nestled within the enchanted woods, there stood a tattered scarecrow near an old beech tree. Unknown to the townsfolk, this scarecrow harbored an ancient curse. It was imbued with the mischievous spirit of a long-extinct bug, known as the beech tree bug. The beech tree bug was a small, malevolent creature that had once thrived by sowing chaos amongst unsuspecting children. Legends whispered of its glowing crimson eyes peering from the darkest corners, and its unnaturally long, spindly limbs ending in razor-sharp claws. Night after night, the beech tree bug would emerge from its hiding place beneath the bed or within the depths of the closet. Only children could see its malicious silhouette, casting sinister shadows across their trembling bodies. As the clock ticked past midnight, the bug would slither out from under the bed, its shadowy presence growing stronger, fueled by the fear in the room. It would creep closer, its beady eyes locked on the innocent child, sensing their vulnerability. With a swift and silent attack, the beech tree bug would stretch its elongated limbs and wrap them around the child's ankle, anchoring its terrifying grip. A twisted smile would form on its grotesque face as it reveled in the child's terrified screams. The bug relished in dragging them forcefully into its concealed lair, the dark abyss of the closet or underneath the bed. Many a nightmarish tale circulated amongst the children of the town, whispers of nocturnal terrors and their mysterious disappearances. Parents dismissed their stories as mere nightmares, ignorant of the true horrors lurking in the corners of their child's bedroom. Deep in the heart of the enchanted woods, the reign of terror carried on as the malevolent beech tree bug, known as Buka, continued its relentless pursuit. With each passing night, Buka's appetite for fear grew insatiable, and its sinister tactics grew even more macabre. Unknown to the rest of the world, the town's children trembled in their beds, plagued by sleepless nights and trepidation. Buka reveled in their vulnerability, delighting in their distress, for it was the essence of fear that nourished its dark soul. Children tossed and turned, their dreams twisted into nightmares, as whispers of Buka's presence echoed through their minds. Shadows danced on the walls, resembling the elongated limbs and glowing crimson eyes that haunted their worst fears. No longer were these mere tales, but a horrifying reality that infiltrated their every waking moment. As dawn broke, the townspeople awoke to the chilling realization that more children had vanished without a trace. Panic swept through the community, mingling with sorrow and despair. Parents clung to fading hope, their anguished cries calling out for their lost loved ones. The town's cries caught the attention of an enigmatic figure known as the Keeper. A harbinger of ancient folklore, the Keeper possessed knowledge of the dark forces that lurked within the woods. Determined to free the children from Buka's clutches, the Keeper gathered their strength and embarked on a dangerous quest to confront the malevolent creature. Guided by whispers of long-forgotten legends, the Keeper ventured deeper into the woods, following the path the lost children had unknowingly tread. Every rustle in the undergrowth, every gust of wind seemed to carry Buka's mocking laughter, a chilling reminder of the evil that awaited them. Drawing upon wisdom and ancient magic, the Keeper prepared for a battle that would test their resolve, their courage, and their life force. Armed with talismans and incantations, they sought to uncover the key to defeating Buka and releasing the stolen souls trapped within its wicked clutches. But Buka was not easily vanquished. It employed cunning strategies, manipulating shadows and distorting reality to confuse and terrify its pursuer. The Keeper's steps faltered as they faced nightmarish illusions and treacherous traps, their determination tested in the most gruesome of ways. Yet, the Keeper refused to yield, refusing to let fear ebb away their resolve. They persevered through the labyrinthine terrors within the heart of Buka's lair. With each step, the keeper grew closer to understanding Buka's true origins, unearthing the dark history that led to its curse. As the final confrontation loomed, the keeper's heart quickened, knowing the outcome would forever alter the fate of the town's children. They would need to muster every ounce of their strength, every shred of their knowledge, to face Buka in a battle of wills, where the realm of reality and nightmares intertwined. In the depths of the enchanted forest, an evil creature known as the Beaches, the embodiment of creeping evil, continued its relentless quest to corrupt the innocence of urban youth. His insidious influence spread far beyond the small town, penetrating into the heart of the bustling city, where the lights often masked the darkness lurking inside. Buki thrived on the vulnerability of young souls, weaving its pernicious presence into their lives through an endless interweaving of concrete and steel. Like an invisible thread, she spread her influence, focusing on those who had lost touch with the wonders of childhood, whose spirit was clouded by the pressure and complexities of the adult world. In their dreams, Buki whispered tempting promises of power, recognition, and escape from the hardships of reality. His words carried a seductive charm, misleading the innocent, inflaming their curiosity and luring them even deeper into his embrace. With his dark tentacles woven into the fabric of their lives, Buki manipulated their thoughts and emotions, clouding their minds and directing them to deceit and betrayal. This fueled their descent into darkness, their innocence withered like broken fragile petals. As Buka's influence spread, its effects became apparent within the city. Stories surfaced about how young minds succumbed to malicious intent, stories of theft, deception, and something worse. Friendships were crumbling, families were falling apart, and the streets echoed with distrust and sadness. The innocence that once illuminated the life of urban youth has faded, replaced by painful spots of corruption. But not everything was lost. In the face of such darkness, sparks of resistance flickered among the chaos. Some of the city's youth, who had heard rumors of Buka's betrayal, began to doubt which way they were being led. Deep in their souls, the flame of hope burned brightly, reminding them of the purity they had lost. United by a common goal and trying to help the Guardian, these young warriors searched for the remnants of ancient wisdom hidden in the forgotten corners of the city. Guided by the voices of their own lost innocence, they have learned to wield the power of love, compassion, and inner strength. With the help of music, art, storytelling, and good deeds, they fought to wrest their own souls and the souls of their peers from the clutches of the beech tree. Their journey was not without difficulties, and they still found the keeper. Buki, ruthless and cunning, fought back, using all the tricks stored up in his unearthly sleeve. It evoked illusions of depravity and temptation, testing the resilience of those who dared to challenge her. But the urban youth remained steadfast, their burning determination fueled by memories of simpler times. With each passing day, the youth of the city with the Guardian grew stronger, as they created an unbreakable bond, strengthened by the magic of their returned innocence. Together they resisted the creeping evil, driving away the darkness and restoring the light that once shone in their hearts. While the battle raged, the outcome remained uncertain. The power and insidious influence of the Buka remained a constant threat, forever trying to deprive the urban youth of cleanliness. But armed with the power of unity and immortal hope, they vowed to protect their innocence and change their world. The story of their struggle will continue as they wage a ruthless war against Buki, fighting for the return of the essence of childhood and the protection of the future of future generations. With the power of love, perseverance, and unwavering determination, they will prove that no darkness can extinguish the inner light. As the urban youth continued their valiant struggle against the creeping evil of Buki, they celebrated small victories along the way. Their unified efforts and unwavering determination proved to be formidable weapons against the darkness that threatened to consume their innocence. With each triumph, hope burned brighter in their hearts, and the tendrils of Buki's influence began to weaken. The urban youth summoned their collective creativity, pouring their souls into art, music, and storytelling. Through these expressive mediums, they rekindled the joys of childhood, reminding themselves and others of the beauty that lay hidden within the corners of their urban existence. Their acts of kindness and compassion infused the world with warmth and humanity, creating a shield against the insidious force of Buki. As the radiant light of their innocence shone forth, Buki's power faltered, its grip on the young minds and souls loosening. But just as victory seemed within reach, whispers of uncertainty crept through the city. How long could their triumphs hold against the persistence of evil? How many more battles lay ahead? Buki, though weakened, was a tenacious adversary. It bided its time, retreating into the shadows, gathering strength once more. The creeping evil intensified its efforts, seeking new avenues to exploit within the urban youth's lives. It concocted sly deceptions, disguising itself within false promises and illusions of escape. Doubt and temptation infiltrated the hearts of even the most steadfast defenders of innocence. The urban youth found themselves at a crossroads, their newfound strength tested in ways they had not anticipated. The weight of their responsibility pressed heavily upon their shoulders, and doubt began to chip away at their resolve. Fear threatened to extinguish their flame, as whispers of vulnerability echoed in their ears. But, like a beacon cutting through the darkness, there emerged a voice. It was the voice of an elder, one who had witnessed the rise and fall of many battles against Buki in days long past. This sage figure, wise and weathered, spoke with a voice filled with ardent conviction. Though the flames of innocence may flicker in the face of adversity, the elder proclaimed, they can never truly be extinguished. Within your hearts lies a power that Buki cannot comprehend, the unwavering spirit of hope and resilience. Inspired and uplifted, the urban youth heeded the elder's words. They rekindled their determination, rallying together once again to face the encroaching darkness. With renewed vigor, they reached out to others, spreading their message of light, reminding them of the purity that lay dormant within. They stood together, defiant against the creeping evil, vowing to protect their innocence with every ounce of strength they possessed. The war against Buki continued, the outcome uncertain, but the urban youth had learned that true victory did not lie solely in vanquishing their foe. It lay in the unwavering belief that their innocence, their inner light, could never truly be extinguished. With this knowledge, they faced the battles ahead, armed with resilience, hope, and the unbreakable bond they had formed. How long they would continue to triumph over the creeping evil of Buki remained unknown, but they knew that as long as they held true to their hearts and stood united against the darkness, their innocence would remain a beacon of light, shining for all those who wished to reclaim their own. Once upon a time, nestled deep within the heart of a remote countryside, there lay an innocent-looking field. What appeared to be a normal expanse of grass and wild flowers held a dark secret within its borders. Locals whispered tales of an evil presence lurking just beneath the surface, whispering malevolently through the rustling wind. Legend spoke of a shaggy monster that roamed the field Wample, a creature with supernatural powers that defied human understanding. Its form was said to be ever-changing, capable of transforming into any shape it desired. But perhaps the most terrifying aspect of this malevolent being was its multiple heads. At times, it would emerge with several twisted, snarling heads resembling those of impalas, each one more hideous than the last. The creature was said to be a harbinger of darkness, drawing power from the night itself. It could control the very elements, conjuring storms and raising the dead with a flick of its wicked claws. It reveled in the fear it inspired, feeding off the terror of those unfortunate enough to cross its path. The people living nearby knew to keep their distance from the wicked field, lest they fall victim to the creature's wrath. But there was another threat that haunted their nightmares: the vampires. These bloodthirsty and dead beings made their lair within the field, using its twisted energy to sustain their immortal existence. Unlike traditional vampires, the creatures dwelling in this accursed field defied gender norms. Both male and female vampires roamed freely, their fangs gleaming in the moonlight as they sought fresh victims. Their powers were immense, enabling them to control minds and drain the life force from anyone who dared venture into their territory. As night fell across the countryside, the field came alive with unearthly activity. The wicked monster, with its multitude of impala-like heads, prowled amidst the vampires, their blood-red eyes glowing with insatiable bloodlust. Fear and darkness intertwined, creating an atmosphere of sheer horror. In the small village adjacent to the accursed forest, whispers of the malevolent vampir's reign of terror had grown louder and more frequent. Fear gripped the hearts of the villagers as tales spread of missing loved ones and signs of a growing evil presence encroaching upon their peaceful lives. Driven by a desperate need to protect their community, the villagers devised a plan. They decided to surround the dark forest with a thick, impenetrable fence, in a valiant attempt to keep the vampire contained within its ominous confines. Little did they know, this would be a perilous undertaking, one that would cost them dearly. With determined hearts, the villagers gathered their tools and commenced the construction. Every day, they toiled under the scorching sun, their sweat mingling with the palpable tension in the air. But the forest seemed to conspire against their efforts, as if it possessed a will of its own. As the fence began to take shape, strange occurrences plagued the workers. Tools vanished without a trace, only to reappear in twisted and grotesque forms. Whispers of malicious laughter drifted through the dense forest, unsettling even the bravest of villagers. Some claimed to have seen shadowy figures darting amongst the trees, their eyes glimmering with a malevolence that sent shivers down their spines. Despite the mounting dangers, the villagers persisted, their resolve unwavering. They knew the stakes were high, for every barrier built would be a step closer to protecting their homes and loved ones from the vampire's wrath. They pressed on, fueled by a collective determination to defy the encroaching darkness. However, the price they paid was immense. As the fence grew taller and more formidable, so did the vampire's fury. The malevolent creature struck back with a vengeance, unleashing its supernatural powers upon the hapless villagers. Many valiant souls were lost, snatched away by the vampire's voracious hunger or shredded by its razor-sharp claws. But amidst the chaos, one villager managed to survive, a survivor burdened with the weight of witnessing the gruesome fate that befell their companions. The traumatized survivor, battered and broken, stumbled out of the forest, gasping for breath and carrying a terrifying tale. He recounted the horrors they had witnessed, fierce battles fought against the multiple-headed vampire, the blood-curdling screams of their friends, and the haunting cries of those consumed by the creature's insatiable hunger. The survivor, forever scarred by their ordeal, pleaded with the remaining villagers to abandon their perilous endeavor, warning them of the unstoppable evil lurking within. But the remaining villagers were conflicted. Though the survivor's tale revealed the sheer, ghastly power the vampire possessed, their resolve to protect their loved ones remained unyielding. They understood the risks. It was a fight for survival, where every move could be their last. Undeterred by the terrifying stories of loss and despair, the remaining villagers knew that they had to protect their homes and loved ones from the unholy wrath of the vampire. They understood the risks involved, but their determination burned bright, igniting a fierce resolve within them. With trembling hands and hearts heavy with trepidation, the villagers gathered once more to commence the construction of the fence. This time, they joined forces with a neighboring village, providing support and strength in numbers. Together, they would face the shaggy monster and quell its reign of terror once and for all. Word of their noble mission spread throughout the region, reaching the ears of those who had been living precariously within the cursed field. These inhabitants, oblivious to the true nature of the vampire, had watched the previous attempts to build the fence curiously, torn between fear and hope. As the construction began anew, the villagers soon realized that these individuals had endured their own hardships within the darkened realm. They had seen glimpses of the vampire, its multiple heads striking fear into their hearts. Yet, they had found ways to survive, sheltered in the enclave of the ancient forest. The residents, now united with the villagers, brought forth their own knowledge and insights. They shared hidden paths, secret clearings, and the strengths and weaknesses they had discovered within this realm of nightmares. Together, they formed an alliance against the malevolent vampire, combining their collective experiences to fortify the fence and safeguard their lives. As they persevered within the twisted labyrinth of the cursed field, the fence grew stronger with every passing day, woven with stolen moments of daylight and fueled by a growing camaraderie that transcended their differences. They fought off the Vamples' relentless attempts to eradicate their progress, pushing back against the darkness. Yet, as they neared the completion of the fence, rumors began to circulate. Whispers spread, hinting at a horrifying revelation, a revelation that suggested their efforts had only scratched the surface of an even greater malevolence lurking in the depths of the forest. Doubts and fears began to plague the minds of the villagers. Was the Vample just a puppet of an even more sinister force, a harbinger of a darkness far beyond their comprehension? Were they merely pawns in a wicked game, trapped amidst malevolent entities with unimaginable power? Despite these uncertainties, the villagers and residents pressed on, recognizing that their collective strength was their greatest weapon. They knew that succumbing to fear and doubt would only assure their imminent demise. United in purpose, they vowed to face the Vample and any other horrors that awaited them head-on, steadfast in their resolve to reclaim their lives and protect their land. And so, with hope flickering amidst the encroaching darkness, the villagers and residents readied themselves for a final, decisive battle. The completion of the fence loomed near, marking the culmination of their arduous journey filled with sacrifice, bravery, and an unwavering spirit. The night hung heavy with anticipation as the villagers, weary from the arduous construction, sought solace in slumber. Little did they know that as they slept, a malevolent force stirred in the darkest corners of the cursed field. Under the cover of darkness, the Vample, cunning and relentless, set its sights on the vulnerable village that had dared challenge its reign of terror. Stealthily, it moved through the shadows, its shaggy form blending seamlessly with the encompassing darkness. Like a storm unleashed with a vengeance, the Wample struck, its supernatural powers tearing through the village with a wrath fueled by eons of malice. Buildings crumbled and collapsed, their wooden frames rendered to splinters under the Wample's monstrous strength. In its wake, devastation and chaos reigned supreme. The villagers awoke to a nightmare, their once thriving community reduced to rubble. Panic swept through their hearts as they surveyed the destruction, the realization dawning upon them that their resolute efforts had not been enough. They were face to face with an even greater malevolence within the curse-infested field. Too late, they recognized that their plight was far more perilous than they had ever fathomed. The Wample, in its ferocious assault, had breached their defenses, infiltrating their sanctuary. Several villagers, unfortunate souls who had been chosen by the monster's insatiable hunger, had been dragged back into the wretched depths of the cursed field, their terrified screams echoing into the night. Grief-stricken and filled with a renewed determination, the remaining villagers vowed to avenge their fallen comrades. They locked eyes, their gazes filled with steely resolve, as they prepared to confront the Vample once more. The loss of their homes and loved ones ignited a fire within them, blazing brighter than ever before. But the Vample was cunning, shifting its strategy to match their determination. It struck from the shadows, preying upon the vulnerable, and vanishing into the night before retaliation could be exacted. The villagers felt the weight of despair upon their shoulders, their every victory overshadowed by the relentless assaults. And, as if the desolation wasn't complete, the Vample's hunger extended beyond human flesh. Cattle, symbols of livelihood and sustenance, were not spared from the monstrous creature's depredations. The very essence of survival, stolen away by the insatiable appetite of the Vample. The villagers found themselves caught in a treacherous cycle, rebuilding their shattered homes only to have them torn asunder yet again. Frustration and anguish gnawed at their spirits, yet their determination wavered not. They would not be cowed by the Vample's wrath. They would not let fear engulf them entirely. With grit and resolve, the villagers prepared for their next encounter, knowing that their strength lay in their unity. Bonds formed amidst the turmoil, and strategies were forged through collective wisdom and shared grief. They would not allow their fallen comrades' sacrifices to be in vain. The fate of the villagers and the cursed field remained uncertain, hanging precariously in the balance of the ongoing battle against the shaggy monster. Their resilience and unwavering belief in their cause were all they had left as they stood on the precipice of an unthinkable horror, their determination poised to be tested like never before. Determined not to succumb to despair, the beleaguered villagers rallied their spirits and recommitted themselves to their mission. They realized that in order to protect their community from the vampires' relentless onslaught, they would need to adapt their approach. With newfound resolve, the villagers devised a bold strategy to continue the construction of the fence. They divided themselves into two shifts, one group to build during the daylight hours, harnessing the strength of the sun, and another to tirelessly toil under the moon's embrace during the night. This way, even as the vampire prowled the shadows, their efforts would not waver nor falter. The resilient villagers embraced their respective roles, fortifying the sense of unity that had been forged through shared hardship. Those who worked under the blazing sun labored relentlessly, fighting against fatigue and sweltering heat. Their hands calloused and muscles strained, they constructed sections of the fence with unwavering determination. When dusk settled, a seamless transition took place. The inhabitants of the village, now attuned to the rhythms of darkness, emerged from their temporary respite, ready to face the Wample head-on. Under the ethereal glow of the moon's gentle touch, they resumed their arduous labor, driven by their unwavering commitment to safeguard their homes. The transformation of the village became a living testament to their unyielding will. While the rest of the world slept, they battled against the forces of evil, working relentlessly through the silent night. An unbreakable synergy fueled their efforts, as if they had become guardians of a realm caught between realms, eternally tethered to the struggles against the vampires' menace. Leaning on each other for support, they exchanged stories and wisdom, their shared experiences interweaving into an unbreakable mesh of resilience. They learned to recognize the telltale signs of the vampires' approach, honing their instincts to stay one step ahead. Every nail hammered and every beam erected represented a beacon of hope against the encroaching darkness. As days melded into nights and nights bled back into days, the fence slowly rose, standing tall and defiant. Its sturdy foundation served as a physical manifestation of the unwavering spirit of the villagers, standing firm against the onslaught of evil. Each layer of wood and metal was imbued with their resilience, a testament to their collective defiance against the vampires' reign of terror. And so, the villagers persisted in their unrelenting mission, never forgetting the loved ones lost nor the sacrifices made. They knew that the final outcome of their struggle continued to hang in the balance, as the vampires struck back with malevolent fury, testing the very limits of their endurance. In this harrowing dance between light and darkness, the residents remained at the front line, arming themselves with unwavering resolve. Their tireless efforts carried within them the glimmer of hope that the fence would be completed, and that their fight against the shaggy monster would meet a victorious end. Yet, the true climax of their battle, a confrontation that would decide the fate of all involved, still loomed on the darkened horizon. Will they have time to finish the wall before the next attack? In a small town nestled amidst the fog-covered hills, an old cemetery lay adjacent to a weathered church. The townsfolk spoke of an ancient legend that haunted their dreams, the story of the Grimms, also known as church grimes. These terrifying creatures lurked in the shadows, only revealing themselves when the clouds swallowed the sunlight and rain cascaded from the heavens. The townspeople shivered at the thought of encountering a Grimm, for they were said to possess an insatiable hunger for sorrow and despair. Legend had it that these malevolent entities could shape-shift into grotesque forms, but their most common disguise was that of towering dogs, their fur as black as pitch, and their eyes burning like glowing embers in the darkness. During the late afternoon, when the day waned and the world slipped into twilight, the Grimms would creep into the cemetery. Their presence sent an eerie chill down the spines of those nearby. It seemed they relished the sorrow and grief fountaining from the funerals, for they thrived in the midst of anguish. Whispers spread throughout the town that the Grimms had an eerie connection with the sick and the dying. Their haunting howls pierced the silence of the night, a mournful wail foreshadowing the inevitable demise of those lying on their sickbeds. Teetering on the edge of life and death, the sick would tremble beneath the weight of their sinister prophecy. But it wasn't just the mournful cries that terrified the townspeople. The Grimms held a macabre fascination with the towering church bell tower. Those brave enough to venture near the ominous structure at night knew they might witness a haunting spectacle. With an inexplicable fearlessness, Some would daub their faces with eerie makeup and ascend the treacherous stairs leading to the bell tower. As the midnight hour approached, a brave soul would reach the peak and unleash an unholy symphony, causing all the bells to toll with ominous resonance. The chilling sound echoed through the night, filling the town with a mixture of dread and wonder. Everyone held their breath, waiting for the ritual to end, unsure of what awaited those who dared to challenge the Grimms. But alas, this is where our story remains unfinished, with the looming question of what fate befalls those who trespass upon the domain of the Church Grimes. Perhaps one day, the courageous soul who rings the bells will finally reveal the secrets hidden within the haunted tower and bring an end to the nocturnal reign of the Grimms. Until then, the townsfolk can only wonder and fear what lies in the darkness beyond the church walls. But as the story of the Grimms persisted, so did the chilling accounts of those who dared to venture near their dark domain. Whispers in the town's tavern spoke of the eerie fate that awaited anyone who trespassed upon the possessions of these creatures. The townsfolk learned that those who dared to approach the Church Grimes territory were not merely left to their own devices. Instead, the Grimms acted as malevolent guides, herding their victims towards a grim fate. Some unfortunate souls would find themselves cornered, their screams drowned out by the howling wind as the Grimms closed in, thrusting them into their lair with jaws wide open, ready to feast upon their souls. Other ill-fated wanderers encountered a different manner of torment. The vengeful Grimms would stalk them relentlessly with an unwavering determination. Shadows followed their every step, and haunting whispers echoed through the night, urging them toward their demise. The victims, unaware of the sinister force that guided them, were pushed to the brink of despair, both mentally and physically, until their final breaths escaped them. As the legends grew, a sense of trepidation settled over the town like a veil of darkness. Fear choked the air. The once vibrant community became cloaked in sorrow and uncertainty. Mournful cries rang out more frequently, announcing the passing of those who had become the next victims of the Grimms' insidious hunt. Within the safety of their homes, the townsfolk would huddle together, seeking solace in each other's presence. Even as the storms raged outside, they prayed for sunlight to pierce through the clouds, banishing the Grimms back into the depths of their supernatural realm. Yet, hope flickered within the hearts of a few courageous souls who refused to succumb to the terror that gripped their town. As the relentless reign of the Grimms persisted, the once courageous souls who sought to challenge the monsters slowly vanished, leaving behind a town shrouded in a veil of despair. Desperation saturated the air as the remaining residents realized the futility of their attempts to resist the terrifying creatures. With each passing day, the Grimms grew bolder, their presence more menacing. They prowled the cemetery with malevolent intent, their glowing eyes piercing through the darkness like beacons of impending doom. The townspeople lived in constant fear, their hearts heavy with the weight of an uncertain future. One by one, the remaining residents succumbed to the Grimms' insidious grasp. No walls could keep them safe, no prayers could ward off their haunting cries. The town became a ghostly echo of its former self, houses abandoned, streets empty, and the once vibrant community reduced to mere whispers in the wind. Those who had once stood as beacons of hope gradually lost their resolve, unable to withstand the relentless pursuit of the Grimms. The courage that once burned within their hearts faltered, overshadowed by the grim reality that there was no escape from the clutches of these nightmarish creatures. The disappearances continued, each loss driving the remaining townspeople deeper into a spiraling abyss of grief and resignation. They saw no light at the end of the tunnel, no glimmer of hope to guide them back to the world they had once known. The town became a desolate, forgotten place, forever haunted by the memory of those who had been devoured by the Grimms. As time wore on, the Grimms tightened their grip on the forsaken town, their hunger insatiable. The once bustling cemetery transformed into a realm of perpetual darkness, an eternal abode for the lost souls who had fallen victim to the Grimms' wicked machinations. And so, the story of the Grimms reached its somber conclusion, for there was no one left to resist them, no one left to challenge their malevolence. The town stood as a testament to their reign, its streets silent, its existence a mere echo in the annals of forgotten tales. In the end, the Grimms held dominion over the land, their terrifying legends etched into the fabric of the forsaken town. Their menacing presence endured, reminding all who should stumble upon the forgotten place of the horrors that awaited those who dared to defy the darkness. As the Grimms exhausted their insatiable hunger in the desolate town, a cold wind whispered through the abandoned streets. For a brief moment, silence reigned supreme, as if even the zephyrs carried the weight of the forgotten souls left behind. But the Grimms, unsatiated and ever-hungering, sought new territories to spread their malevolence. Driven by an ancient instinct, the Grimms slithered through the shadows, leaving the decaying town behind. Their fearsome forms, now ripe with a terrible power, prowled the outskirts before disappearing into the night. The ominous glow of their eyes pierced the veil of darkness, a silent reminder of the nightmare to come. On moonless nights, eerie tales began to spread from unsuspecting cities on the horizon. Whispers grew louder, carried by trembling lips and haunted gazes. Rumors of unexplained disappearances and haunting howls that echoed through narrow alleyways cast a foreboding shadow over the unsuspecting streets. The Grimms had arrived, choosing new hunting grounds to sow terror and despair. No longer bound to the crumbling cemetery near the old church, they reveled in the fresh fear that permeated the hearts of the innocent. The townspeople, blissfully ignorant of the horrors awaiting them, soon felt the icy breath of the Grimms on the back of their necks. With their bloodlust reignited, the malevolent creatures began their nefarious dance of destruction. They manifested as hulking dogs, their ebony fur absorbing the light around them, while their glowing eyes pierced the darkness with an unholy fire. Rain-swept nights and cloud-laden skies became a sinister backdrop for their reign of terror. Once again, the Grimms unleashed their dreadful howls, now winding their way through the cobblestone streets of the new city. Sickened hearts quivered at the sound, recognizing the cruel premonition of their impending doom. Unease settled upon the city, shrouding its once thriving spirit in a cloak of fear. Unbeknownst to the unsuspecting populace, the Grimms reveled in their newfound power. They skulked beneath windowsills, their malevolent gaze fixated on the frail and infirm, casting a haunting prelude to their demise. The city's collective breath held, knowing that the cries of the Grimms heralded a tragedy that could not be averted. Meanwhile, atop the tallest bell towers, the fearless few dared to challenge the Grimms' reign once again. Their souls laden with bravery, they adorned themselves with solemn paint, ready to confront the monsters that taunted their existence. As night fell, they rang the bells, their harmonious toll resonating through the city's veins. As the brave men scaled the heights of the bell tower, their hearts filled with a mixture of trepidation and determination. They had come prepared to confront the Grimms, armed with ancient knowledge, and driven by the fervent hope of freeing their city from the clutches of these nightmarish creatures. Faces adorned with solemn paint, their eyes glinted with a steely resolve. The tolling bells reverberated through the night as a potent signal of defiance, a call to arms against the encroaching darkness. The city held its breath, hoping against hope that these brave souls could succeed where so many had failed before. But little did the valiant men know, the Grimms possessed more than just ferocity and hunger. They were cunning and insidious, weavers of deceit and master manipulators of fears. The battle they sought was not a simple clash of swords, but a psychological warfare that would test the limits of human resolve. With each step closer to their spectral adversaries, the brave men felt an intangible presence slither and coil around their very souls. Shadows danced and whispered, their voices weaving tales of doubt and despair. The Grimms, aware of the intruders' intentions, toyed with their minds, feeding on their fears and turning hope into a poisoned elixir of false illusions. As the confrontation neared, the Grimms revealed their true nature. From the depths of the shadows, they emerged, their forms distorted and grotesque, terrifying visages that twisted the laws of nature. The brave men stared into the abyss of darkness, confronted by the unholy monstrosities they had dared to challenge. A battle ensued, a fierce struggle of wills and strength. Blades clashed against ebony fur, and desperate shouts pierced through the night. Yet, with each skirmish, the Grimms showcased their superiority. They moved with an otherworldly agility, striking from unexpected angles, their fangs and claws tearing through flesh and bone with a vicious relentlessness. Pain and desperation intertwined as the brave men fought valiantly but were overwhelmed by the twisted forces that stood against them. Yet, even in their darkest moments, they clung to a flickering ember of hope, refusing to succumb completely to the engulfing darkness. The battle raged on, both sides locked in a dance of agony and resilience. The brave men, blooded and battered, channeled every ounce of determination into pushing forward, determined to protect their home from the wicked grasp of the Grimms. Their steadfastness became a beacon in the night, a defiant light that refused to be extinguished. And so, the outcome of this battle would remain obscured for now, poised on the edge of possibility. The brave men faced not only the physical might of the Grimms, but also the daunting challenge of overcoming their own deepest fears. Only time would reveal if their valor and unyielding spirit would be enough to triumph against the relentless tide of darkness, freeing the city from the oppressive grip of the Grimms once and for all. Deep in the heart of an ancient, desolate desert, a team of determined archaeologists embarked on a treacherous mission, hoping to uncover the mysteries hidden beneath the scorching sands. Their relentless pursuit for treasures led them to a long-forgotten burial site rumored to hold unimaginable wealth and ancient relics. Days turned into weeks as the expedition persevered under the grueling sun, tirelessly unearthing historical remnants. Every fragment held a story from the distant past, tantalizing their insatiable hunger for discovery. Finally, after countless hours of relentless digging, they uncovered a peculiar sarcophagus, ornately adorned with complex hieroglyphics that spoke of unimaginable power. Curiosity danced in their eyes, and their hearts raced with anticipation as they slowly lifted the ancient casket, revealing a void filled with darkness. The air grew heavy, and a chilling silence settled over the camp. Unbeknownst to the archaeologists, they had awakened something far more sinister than they could ever imagine. Under the starry night, it was as if the desert whispered secrets, warning of the nefarious presence lingering within the sarcophagus. Ignorant to the dormant malevolence within, they transported the time-worn container with an air of nonchalance, eager to examine its contents in the confines of their sterile laboratory. Upon arriving late at night, they placed the sarcophagus in a dimly lit corner, overshadowed by the buzzing equipment and cluttered desks. The team members busied themselves with their findings, oblivious to the unease that emanated from the once sleeping tomb. Their laughter and excitement masked the eerie aura that enveloped the room. Days turned into weeks as the archaeologists delved further into their discoveries. Their focus shifted, and the forgotten sarcophagus became a mere backdrop, collecting dust in the far corner. Little did they know that, within the shadows of the laboratory, a dreadful presence lay in wait. Night by night, the faintest whispers echoed through the corridors. Strange occurrences plagued the researchers' dreams, turning them into sleep-deprived shells. Objects would inexplicably move, whispers grew louder, and a pervasive chill seemed to swallow the life from the room itself. Whispers transformed into voices, and the dark presence began to manifest. Panic gripped the researchers' hearts as they sensed their impending doom. But seeking refuge in ignorance, they continued their work, desperate to ignore the encroaching malevolence. The laboratory turned into a prison of fear, its once familiar halls tainted by an otherworldly presence. Apparitions of shadowy figures now lurked in every corner, their hollow eyes filled with an insatiable hunger for revenge. The wrath of the awakened mummy began to consume their lives, its vengeance unleashed upon those who dared trespass on its eternal slumber. In the depths of the night, screams filled the air, merging with the distant sound of shattering glass. The archaeologists, now paralyzed by fear, clung to the remnants of their dwindling rationality. The malevolent force that had been awakened would not rest until it had claimed their very souls. And so, the tale begins, as the research team desperately tries to navigate a maze of terror and survival. Each step leading them closer to the unspeakable truth that lay dormant within the sarcophagus, waiting to unleash horrors unimaginable upon the world. As fate would have it, disaster struck during the treacherous transportation of the ancient sarcophagus. The fragile container, already weakened by centuries of burial, suffered a devastating blow, causing a gaping hole to tear through its ancient shell. With a grating screech, the terrors within were unleashed, and the long-imprisoned mummy clawed its way out into the world once more. The air thickened with an oppressive darkness as the mummy emerged, its once restful slumber shattered. It let out an eerie cry, a haunting wail that pierced the night, signaling its resurrection and awakening the sinister forces lurking within the distant depths of sandy tombs. In the desolate burial grounds, where countless mummies had long lain undisturbed, the cry awakened others of its kind. Dust-laden bandages unraveled, and the tattered remains of decaying corpses stirred to life. Mummies of warriors, pharaohs, and long-forgotten souls rose from their crypts, responding to the call of their awakened brethren. As the night sky illuminated by a blood-red moon, the mummies shambled forward, their movements eerily synchronized, an army of darkness with a collective purpose. Their hollow eyes glowed with an unholy light, reflecting the malevolence that consumed their ethereal beings. Together, they embarked on a relentless march, their unholy cries echoing across the arid desert, staining the air with dread. Horrified witnesses who glimpsed their unholy procession from afar were struck dumb with terror. Legions of the resurrected dead traversed the sands, leaving a trail of ancient curses and vengeful destruction in their wake. Fields turned barren, rivers run dry, and the living dared not venture beyond their fortified walls for fear of an ill-fated encounter with the relentless mummy horde. Within the heart of civilization, chaos and panic reigned. The once bustling city now stood on the precipice of devastation, its people cowering in fear as the mummies approached, their footsteps resonating with impending doom. The streets had become a battleground between life and the wrath of those long past. But even amidst the chaos, a flicker of hope ignited in the hearts of a brave few who refused to succumb to despair. Scholars of ancient history, guided by their unyielding determination, raced against time to decipher the cryptic scrolls and incantations that could offer a glimmer of salvation. With ancient rituals, incense, and desperate prayers, they sought to bind the merciless forces that had been awakened. But the battle against the rampaging mummies proved to be a treacherous struggle, as these cursed souls were fueled by an unrelenting desire for revenge, tragedy, and the yearning for their stolen rest. The confrontation between the living and the undead raged on, the scales tipping precariously between salvation and damnation. Ultimately, the fate of humanity hung by the thinnest of threads as the mummy horde pushed ever closer to achieving their dark deeds, leaving a path of destruction and desolation in their wake. As the relentless mummy horde pressed forward, their numbers grew exponentially with each unfortunate victim that fell before their wrath. They unleashed their unholy powers upon the living, transforming them into cursed beings, doomed to join their dreaded ranks. The once vibrant world crumbled beneath their malevolent might, reduced to a desolate wasteland shrouded in darkness and death. The mummy army's journey drew to an ominous climax as they reached the very heart of their desire, the laboratory, where they were once ignorantly abandoned. With booming steps that reverberated through the building, they burst through the doors, their hunger for vengeance unyielding. Within the laboratory's sterile walls, chaos erupted. The screams of the doomed scientists echoed through the chambers as the mummies laid waste to everything and everyone in their path. Equipment and instruments toppled and shattered, while the echoes of terrified prayers and futile pleas danced through the smoke-filled air. One by one, the defenders fell, their futile resistance no match for the supernatural strength of the undead. Their bodies crumbled and their souls were ripped from existence, leaving behind a trail of lifeless victims, now destined to forever eternally guard the laboratory turned to. As the carnage subsided, silence settled over the once bustling laboratory, now transformed into a haunting burial ground. The mummies claimed the space as their own, a twisted victory carved out of the ruins of scientific pursuit. The laboratory, once a symbol of human discovery and innovation, was now a forsaken graveyard, a sinister sanctuary for those who would never know peace. Within the laboratory tomb, the mummies settled into their newfound domain, guarding the secrets that lay hidden within its walls. The ethereal silence was interrupted only by the whispers of ancient knowledge, carried on the spectral winds that perpetually haunted the forsaken halls. The outside world shivered in fear, aware of the darkness that now dwelled within their midst. The once thriving city had succumbed to the malevolent grasp of darkness, forever entwined with the curse brought forth by the vengeful mummies. The curse persisted, spreading unstoppably, turning the city and its inhabitants into a ghostly spectacle of eternal damnation. Once upon a time, in a small village nestled deep within the shadows of a dense, ancient forest, there was a tale whispered amongst the townsfolk. A dreaded presence lurked in the depths of their dreams, a succubus. They called her, a demon of lust and debauchery. With every passing night, the village's young men found solace in their slumber, unaware of the dark secret that awaited them. Wrapped in the veils of darkness, the succubus would visit, her slender figure seducing their minds and bodies. Long ebony tresses cascaded down her bare shoulders, framing a youthful face adorned with alluring eyes that reflected an insidious hunger. But beneath her tempting facade, her clawed feet left marks upon the souls she devoured, forever marring their innocence. The villagers lived in constant torment, their nights twisted by the illusions woven by the succubus. Sensual dreams tormented their minds, eluding their grasp upon awakening. Whispers echoed through the village streets, the men growing paler with each passing night. Their once joyous spirits withered beneath the weight of the succubus's curse. There was Aldrich, a once famous musician, who lost himself to the succubus's clutches. In his dreams, he performed alongside ethereal sirens, their melodious voices enchanting him as he danced on the precipice of ecstasy. Such bliss seemed endless, until one fateful morning Aldrich awoke, his fingers blooded, having torn his own ears from his head, forever silencing the music that had once brought him joy. And then there was young Jacob, an aspiring artist, his mind filled with visions of unattainable beauty. Every night, the succubus granted him marvelous talents, allowing his brush to caress the canvas like an extension of his very soul. But as the nights blended into days, a creeping madness consumed Jacob, until he could no longer distinguish his art from reality. The villagers discovered him, covered in his own paint, his once vibrant spirit a mere husk as he scratched at his eyes, desperate to escape the twisted illusions that tormented him. As despair clung to the village like a shroud, whispers of a mysterious figure spread through the town. A wise old sage came forth, carrying secret knowledge passed down through generations about the ways of demons. Determined to free their loved ones from the clutches of the succubus, the villagers rallied behind the sage's wisdom. One by one, the village's bravest souls ventured into the forest, armed with holy symbols and ancient prayers. They trudged through the tangled undergrowth, the canopy of trees blocking out even the moon's glow. Heartbeats pulsed with trepidation as they drew nearer to the succubus's domain, feeling the weight of her presence in their every step. Finally, they reached a dilapidated, long-forgotten temple, its pillars crumbling under the burden of the darkness they harbored. As the villagers entered the cursed chamber, the air grew thick with anticipation. Undeterred, they closed their eyes and fervently recited the sacred words, banishing the succubus from their dreams forever. As the incantations echoed through the chamber, the succubus appeared, her beauty twisted by the malevolence that seeped from her every pore. The villagers stood firm, undeterred by her seductive allure. With a collective effort, they channeled their will, their intent focused on imprisoning the demon in an eternal slumber. Dark energy crackled in the air as the succubus fought against her fate, her webbed wings thrashing, and her talon-like claws scraping against the cold stone floor. But the villagers persisted, unleashing the full force of their collective strength, their desires for freedom from her grip fueling their resolve. In a final surge of power, the chamber trembled, the walls shimmering in a pulsating glow. The succubus let out a deafening screech, her form dissipating into ethereal mist. She was trapped, ensnared within the walls of the chamber she had once seen as her domain. The villagers, weary but triumphant, sealed the chamber with ancient runes, ensuring the demon's confinement for generations to come. They vowed to stand vigilant, to protect their village and its young men from the succubus's dark allure. Over time, the sealed chamber became a focal point of protection and reverence within the village. Generations passed, and the tale of the succubus transformed into a cautionary tale, a reminder of the dangers that lay hidden in the darkest corners of desire. And so, the village thrived, its people forever altered by their encounter with the succubus. The young men grew wise, their hearts sheltered from the temptations that once plagued their dreams. The village became a bastion of strength, a testament to the power of unity and the resilience of the human spirit. Yet, deep within the sealed chamber, the succubus's presence lingered, a dormant force awaiting an opportune moment to awaken once more. The villagers remained cautious, knowing that despite their victory, the demon's power remained formidable, ready to resurrect its reign of lust and debauchery. So, they lived on, ever watchful, knowing that eternal vigilance was the price to be paid to keep the succubus at bay, forever locked within its hibernation. Beneath the echoes of forgotten incantations and the watchful eyes of generations to come. In the twilight of the future, when age had dulled the village's collective memory, a grave darkness began to stir within the ancient, sealed chamber. The succubus, bound for years in her slumber, felt the tremors of her forgotten power coursing through her veins once more. As her ethereal form coalesced, the succubus unleashed her vengeance upon the unsuspecting village. Nightmares returned with a ferocity that shook the villagers to their very core. Young men, now grown, found themselves plagued by torment and desire as the succubus rekindled her reign of debauchery and lust. The village erupted into chaos as despair swallowed their hope. Families were torn asunder, relationships shattered by the temptations crafted by the succubus herself. The once united villagers now succumbed to their own inner demons, driven to madness under the relentless assault of the succubus's curse. Attempts to reseal the chamber proved futile, for the ancient runes had weakened over time, unable to harness the full extent of the succubus's power. Whispered prayers and desperate rituals offered no respite, as the demon reveled in the destruction she wrought upon the once thriving community. Darkness enveloped the village, its once vibrant streets shrouded in perpetual night. The succubus, her glamour and allure enhanced by her newfound strength, stood in the heart of the village square, delighting in the wails of despair, watching as the villagers turned on one another, consumed by their own insatiable desires. Not even the most valiant attempts to ward off the succubus could halt her vengeful conquest. The village's once great heroes fell one by one, overwhelmed by relentless temptation and seduction. The survivors, plagued by nightmares so vivid they blended with reality, found themselves trapped in a waking nightmare, their hope for salvation waning with the fading light. In the end, the once thriving village succumbed to the succubus's darkness. The last remnants of life whispered beneath the blackened clouds that swirled above the desolate town. Broken souls and shattered dreams were all that remained, a testament to the insidious power of a demon whose vengeance knew no bounds. And so, the village vanished from the annals of history, lost to time like a forgotten nightmare. Only whispers carried the tale of its tragic fate, serving as a chilling reminder to future generations of the power that resides in the darkest corners of temptation. The succubus, her malevolence sated for now, vanished into the shadows, returning to the depths from whence she came. Her haunting laughter echoed through the empty streets, a final farewell to the village she had forever condemned. Yet, somewhere in the echoes of that defeated village, a spark of resilience flickered. A fragment of hope remained, whispering of a day when a new generation, armed with ancient knowledge and unwavering determination, might rise from the ashes and reclaim the village from the clutches of darkness. But for now, the succubus's reign endured, leaving a legacy etched upon the land, a tale of a village lost to the seductive grasp of a demon's fury, a cautionary tale of the consequences when vengeance is awakened from eternal slumber. Once upon a moonless night, in a desolate forest hidden deep within the confines of darkness, Cyclops and Brother lurked in the shadows. These brothers were no ordinary beings, they were grotesque and fearsome creatures, cursed with a terrifying appearance. The older brother, a monstrous Cyclops, possessed piercing red eyes that glowed like fiery embers, capable of striking paralyzing terror into the hearts of any unfortunate soul who dared to meet his gaze. His younger brother, equally as horrifying, had only one red eye that seemed to burn through the eternal endless blackness. Legend whispered that these creatures were once human, cursed by Forbidden's magic, their grotesque deformities being a reflection of their inner darkness. The villagers lived in constant fear of trudging too close to the siblings' haunting domain, where the air itself seemed to carry a malevolent chill. The forest surrounding their dwelling was shrouded in an unnatural silence, broken only by the guttural growls and eerie whispers that emanated from the twisted trees. The Cyclops' dwelling was a cavernous den, filled with shadows that danced upon the walls, propelled only by the flickering glow of torchlight. One fateful night, as the moon hid its face behind ominous clouds, sisters Marian and Isabella, curious and daring, decided to test the limits of their bravery. They ventured into the forest, unaware of the terror that awaited them. Whispering winds whispered dark secrets as the sisters delved deeper into the forest, the dense foliage growing thicker, and the air growing heavier with an unsettling energy. As they approached the Cyclops' lair, they felt the hairs on the back of their necks rise, warning them of the impending malevolence. Unbeknownst to the sisters, the Cyclops and his brother sensed their presence. Their fiery eyes glowed brighter as they plotted to ensnare the unsuspecting intruders in their web of terror. The forest seemed to creak and shift with an otherworldly energy, as the ground trembled with the approach of the cursed siblings. Silently, the Cyclops and his brother approached the stunned sisters, their heavy footsteps muffled by the oppressive stillness. The younger brother, the one-eyed fiend, his eye pulsating with a ghastly intensity, glared mercilessly at Isabella. She felt herself being consumed by an overwhelming dread, unable to tear her gaze away from his infernal red eye. Just as Marianne's screams threatened to escape her lips, the Cyclops stepped forward, his twin red eyes piercing the darkness, dripping with malevolence. He cast a spell of pure terror upon Marianne, paralyzing her in the grip of her own abject horror. As silence settled, Isabella found herself unable to move, locked in the Cyclops' vulnerable stare. She felt an icy presence creeping across her skin, as though the breath of the abyss lingered in the air. A shiver traveled down her spine, as her deepest fears were projected before her very eyes. It was no ordinary dinner that the Cyclops prepared that night. With an eerie sense of delight, he brought forth a large cauldron, its contents hidden beneath a thick curtain of steam. The air became heavy with a putrid stench, a sickening combination of decay and Forbidden's magic. Isabella's heart pounded in her chest as she watched the Cyclops and his brother with growing terror. She desperately fought against the invisible chains that bound her, her eyes wide with a primal instinct for survival. Fear gnawed at her every fiber, knowing that their fate teetered on the precipice of something sinister and gruesome. As Marianne remained trapped in her torment, the Cyclops' brother approached her with his haunting solitary eye burning like a malevolent star. He grinned, revealing rows of jagged teeth that seemed to glow in the dim light. He circled his captive prey slowly, his steps synchronized with a macabre rhythm. With a wave of his hand, the Cyclops' brother conjured a wicked dagger, its blade glinting ominously in the flickering torchlight. He poised the blade above Marianne, ready to plunge it into her trembling flesh. He killed her by using her in his dinner. In the cursed forest, Isabella was trapped in a nightmare she could never have imagined. She could only watch in horror as Cyclops and his brother engage in a terrible battle for survival. Their eyes burned with wild hunger. The red glow intensified as the struggle for dominance escalated. Isabella's heart was pounding wildly in her chest, torn between an instinctive desire to escape and a painful fascination that pinned her to the spot. The Cyclops, born with two fiery red eyes, possessed unbridled power and bestial endurance. His limbs forged by darkness swung with deadly force as he charged at his one-eyed brother. The younger brother, whose single eye glowed with a blood-red flame, moved with agility and cunning. The forest trembled with their ferocity. The trees themselves whispered in hushed voices expressing both fear and awe. Their collision echoed through the air, sending shockwaves of fear and anticipation through Isabella's trembling body. As their battle continued, The brothers inflicted terrible wounds on each other, their monstrous forms soaked in a sickening mixture of blood and sweat. Isabella fought the rising wave of nausea, unable to look away, attracted by the grotesque spectacle unfolding in front of her. The Cyclops roared with primal rage, his fists slamming into his brother's scarred flesh as he retaliated with quick and precise blows. The stench of violence and despair filled the air, mixing with the sickening scent of decay and magic that hovered in the cursed forest. Isabella's mind screamed at her to run, to escape from the unholy torments surrounding her. But an unhealthy fascination held her in place, her eyes riveted on the terrifying dance of death playing out in front of her. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, the battle reached its peak. The two brothers, battered and wounded, met eyes with a mixture of defiance and humility. A wave of dark energy swept through the air as they unleashed their final, devastating blows on each other. At that moment, silence reigned in the forest. Isabella held her breath, her heart pounding in her ears. When an eerie silence reigned, only one of the brothers stood up. It was a Cyclops, his fiery red eyes dim from both victory and defeat. His brother lay lifeless at his feet. The curse that had struck the forest, the Cyclops and his now fallen brother seemed to hang even heavier in the air. Isabella shuddered, unable to comprehend the horrors she had witnessed. A mixture of feelings and sadness washed over her when she realized that her sister Marianne had been used for sacrifice. As she cautiously approached the surviving Cyclops, his red eyes met hers, no longer filled with malice, but filled with remorse that she could not understand. With a vile grin stretching across his grotesque face, the Cyclops approached Isabella, his fiery red's eye fixated on her trembling form. The cursed forest seemed to amplify her fear, the air thickening with the stench of inevitable doom. Isabella's heart pounded in her chest, a desperate plea for escape pounding in her temples. She tried to release herself from the invisible bonds that held her captive, but her efforts were in vain. Paralyzed with terror, she could only watch as the Cyclops advanced, each step resonating in the shadowed silence. With a sudden outburst of inhuman strength, the Cyclops seized Isabella, his massive grip constricting around her frail form. She writhed and struggled, a voiceless scream caught in her throat, her eyes locked in a final, terrified stare with the Cyclops' crimson gaze. As the last cyclone descended upon Isabella, her fate sealed by its insatiable hunger, the forest held its breath. The ancient trees whispered a mournful dirge, mournful for the loss of innocence, and the unspeakable horrors perpetuated by the cursed regions of darkness. In the aftermath, the forest still reverberated, with the chilling echoes of Isabella's cries, the weight of her sacrifice tainting the air. The Cyclops and his remaining brother, now fully sated, receded into the depths of the shadows, their sinister presence forever etched into the haunted tapestry of the cursed forest. And so, Isabella became another tragic tale woven into the fabric of that accursed place, a reminder of the cycloparent horrors that lurked beyond the realm of light. Her name whispered in the wind, a heartfelt lament for the loss of an innocent soul, forever entwined in the haunting legacy of the Cyclops with two red eyes and his brother with one. Once upon a time, in a small town nestled deep within the dense forest, there lived a creature known only as the Lizard Man. Legends of this fearsome entity had spread throughout the region, sending shivers down the spines of all who heard of its existence. The town's inhabitants would often huddle around their fireplaces in the evenings, swapping spine-chilling tales about encounters with the Lizard Man. According to local folklore, the creature possessed an unnerving blend of reptilian features and human-like intelligence, making it all the more terrifying. One fateful night, a group of daring teenagers decided to venture into the forest, fueled by their curiosity and a thirst for adventure. Armed with flashlights and trembling with excitement, they ventured into the dark woods, unaware of the horrors that awaited them. As they delved deeper into the forest's gloomy embrace, the temperature dropped, and an eerie silence settled around them. Suddenly, the sound of rustling leaves caught their attention, causing their hearts to race. They shone their flashlights toward the source of the noise, revealing a sinister figure lurking in the shadows, the dreaded lizard man. Its venomous eyes glowed menacingly, sending a chill down the spines of the teenagers. With lightning speed, the creature lunged forward, its scaly limbs moving with a disturbing agility. Fear consumed the group, and they scattered in different directions, desperately trying to escape. One by one, the lizard man picked them off, its long, sharp claws leaving deep gashes on their bodies. The forest was filled with screams of agony and terror. The creature moved silently between the trees, its eerie reptilian hisses punctuating the night. As the night wore on, the remaining survivors, their clothes stained with blood, found themselves cornered near a murky swamp. The lizard man closed in, its slithering tail cutting off any possible escape route. Their trembling bodies embraced one another, their hope fading like the moonlight. Soon the lizard killed everyone. As the years passed, a new generation of teenagers in the small town grew restless, seeking the thrill of adrenaline-fueled adventures. Despite the cautionary tales of the lizard man that still echoed through their community, a group of eager adolescents decided to test their courage by venturing into the dreaded forest to search for the legendary creature. Armed with cameras, curiosity, and a strong desire for excitement, the group set off into the dense woodland, oblivious to the dangers that awaited them. Ignoring the warnings of the town's elders, they convinced themselves that the stories of the lizard man were mere exaggerations, intended to scare them away. As they delved deeper into the eerie forest, a sense of trepidation began to gnaw at their insides. The once vibrant sunlight seemed to fade, replaced by an oppressive darkness that clung to the trees like a shroud. Whispers carried on the wind, evoking the unsettling tales of the lizard man's previous victims. Their footsteps grew hesitant, and their laughter turned nervous as they stumbled upon abandoned campfires and broken branches, signs of previous encounters with the dreaded creature. But driven by excitement and their youthful naivety, they pressed on, stubbornly refusing to turn back. It was not long before their enthusiasm was shattered. From the depths of the undergrowth, the lizard man emerged, striking with swift and deadly precision. Panic erupted within the group as they witnessed their friends being torn apart, the creature's claws and teeth ripping through flesh with horrifying ease. Terror gripped their hearts, paralyzing them as the relentless lizard man closed in, its eerie hisses echoing through the air. One by one, the remaining teenagers succumbed to its merciless onslaught until silence settled upon the forest once more, broken only by the triumphant growls of the fearsome creature. Days turned into weeks, and the townspeople grew anxious as the missing teenagers failed to return. Search parties were formed, combing the forest in a desperate attempt to find any trace of their vanished children. But the woods remained silent, guarding its secrets and hiding the grim fate of the ill-fated adventurers. The town was engulfed in a new wave of sorrow and despair, haunted by yet another devastating loss. The legend of the lizard man grew stronger, a chilling reminder of the consequences that awaited those who dared to challenge the boundaries of fear. Never again would the forest witness such foolhardy attempts to seek out the lizard man, for the fear it instilled in the hearts of the townspeople endured and served as a grim warning to all who dared to venture beyond the safety of their homes. The memory of the fallen teenagers cast a somber shadow over the small town, forever reminding them of the dangers that lurked within the darkness of the ancient forest. In the aftermath of the gruesome attack by the lizard man, a heavy cloud of sorrow settled over the small town. The parents and loved ones of the slain teenagers were consumed by grief, their lives forever changed by the terrifying events that unfolded in the forest. The tragedy served as a chilling reminder of the danger that lurked just beyond their cozy homes, instilling a sense of unease within the townspeople. Nightfall became a time of deep trepidation, with families locking their doors tightly, afraid that the lizard man might seek new victims. Despite their fear, some of the residents were determined to put an end to the terror. A group of brave individuals banded together, armed with weapons and a collective resolve to hunt down the creature responsible for the heinous acts. Their pursuit took them deep into the heart of the forest, where their senses were on high alert. Every snap of a twig or distant hiss sent their hearts racing, but they pressed on, determined to bring justice to the memory of the fallen teenagers. Days turned into nights, and the search grew increasingly desperate. The forest became a labyrinth of shadows, an ever-shifting maze that seemed to taunt the hunters at every turn. They could almost feel the malice emanating from the dark recesses, a potent reminder of the lizard man's presence. Just as they were about to lose hope, they stumbled upon a hidden lair deep within a cave. A putrid stench filled the air, causing their stomachs to churn in disgust. The remnants of the lizard man's victims were scattered haphazardly, a gruesome testament to the creature's merciless nature. Determined not to meet the same fate, the hunters prepared to face their adversary. The air was tense as they cautiously made their way further into the cave. The echoes of their footsteps grew louder, mingling with the sounds of their racing heartbeats. And then they found him. The lizard man, perched atop a pile of bones, glared at them with its piercing eyes. Its scaly flesh glistened under the faint light, its reptilian mouth curling into a sinister grin. The hunters tightened their grips on their weapons, resolve fueling their every movement. A battle of epic proportions ensued, as the hunters engaged the lizard man in a fierce struggle. Claws and blades clashed, accompanied by the echoes of screams and roars. The cavern walls trembled as the confrontation reached its climax. One by one, the hunters fell, sacrificing their lives in their quest for justice. Their bodies lay strewn across the cave, a somber tribute to their bravery. But they had managed to wound the lizard man, weakening it, and forcing it to retreat deeper into the darkness. With heavy hearts, those who remained made their way back to the town, their spirits broken but their determination intact. The memory of their fallen comrades fueled their commitment to protect the town from any future threats. Although the lizard man had not been fully vanquished, the presence of these valiant defenders served as a deterrent. The small town rebuilt itself, slowly healing the scars left behind by the tragedy. The legend of the lizard man would forever haunt their memories, a reminder of the darkness that once touched their lives. But the residents remained vigilant, forever aware that the lurking shadows could hold unimaginable horrors. And so, they lived on, their hearts heavy with loss, but their spirit forged in the fires of adversity.